Hello, and thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to join me today. I hope that there's something in here that is a benefit to you or to someone that you know. You can also find us on Getter, Gab, Minds, Locals, Odyssey, and Rumble, just in case something should also happen to our YouTube channel. Now, when I initially started this, I know recently I've had several political videos, and I'm looking at possibly having some more come out. I have a lot to say. When I originally started it, it was kind of a small business advice and what's going on. The problem is a lot of the changes that have been going on affect small businesses in such a way, such as it used to be where small businesses were the number one employer of people, part of how trickle-down economics works. I'll be happy to sit down one day and do a video on how the theory of trickle-down economics works. But they used to be the number one employer of people. Now it's the federal government. This is worrisome more and more as things change. Now, the difference between capitalism and socialism is pretty clear and pretty simple. Capitalism is good, socialism is evil. It's one of the most evil concepts put forth, and sadly, you don't even have to blame it on the devil. Man came up with this all himself. With that said, what makes capitalism so important? It comes down to something I often have brought up in past trainings, talks, etc. Capitalism is where your time is worth money, and you decide the value of your time. Since time is a limited resource, it's worth more when you give it, such as when you do volunteer work, you're volunteering your time, the most valuable resource you actually have. This is my version of putting some of that resource into some things that concern me here in my home state. State I currently reside in, it may change shortly. Let us not forget that New Mexico was a Confederate state when the war started, but the minute that the North came in, we became a northern state. Why? Because the people in political power were in support of the Confederacy. The people, the population, was not. This is why when you hear Joe Biden in his red sermon saying, "We the people," you do have to wonder which people he's actually talking about. Now, socialism. The evil of socialism is that the government decides what your time is worth. If they decide that your time is worthless, then your life is worthless to them. Now, that may seem surprising, but it's a very true statement. Let's take, for example, for COVID. My state shut down, decided I was a non-essential worker, which means I couldn't work, make money. Oh, sure, there's all these unemployment, but you have to be employed. Well, the PPP, well, you have to have employees. My business is small enough that I don't have employees. Thankfully, I do have a few other things that I'm involved in, including a network marketing. It could be better, but here we go. As I said, with capitalism, your time is the most valuable resource you have. No one can take that away from you. Socialism, communism, Marxism, your time is what the government decides that it's worth. It's as simple as that. Whether you can dictate your freedoms, with freedoms comes risks, or whether you want to be taken care of by the government and have them decide it. See, the thing is the government, federal body, state body, municipal, cannot gift happiness. All right. This is why the Constitution doesn't say, and happiness. It says the pursuit of happiness. Because one of the key things in order to find happiness is overcoming obstacles and achieving your goal. It's pretty much the only true way to achieve happiness in a person's life. Overcoming those obstacles that are before you, either by yourself or with help from others. But to overcome those obstacles, that is how you determine your success, and it's the only way you get true happiness. Because again, as you hear repeatedly, money can't buy happiness. So, socialism, and Marxism, the concepts that are pushed by BLM, Antifa, and the current Democratic Party. And this is as a whole, and I'll get into why I say this as a whole, that the state is part of the problem. They want to create a utopia on earth, period. End of story. Capitalism supports the individual rights, individual freedoms, the freedom to pursue happiness. Whereas in communists, the happiness is given to you by the state. I wonder if that's why so many states are making recreational cannabis so much, and the Biden administration isn't doing anything about the fentanyl crisis coming over the southern border. Why don't we have troops there? This is a problem. So, in order to create the utopia, it's a matter of what the government gives to you. Again, the government cannot give you happiness. No one can give you happiness. This is something you have to earn, compete. Those things that they say are bad for, our society, that are bigoted and part of the systemic racism. The problem is that's actually what creates our freedoms. It makes us human. And as far as things go, if one party keeps calling the other party extremist, but they go to extremes, then who is the real extremist? Moving on to what my main concern is right now. I'd been mulling over this for a couple of days. I'd gotten a text on my phone a couple days ago going, will you vote yes on the new constitutional amendment for the state of New Mexico? And I'm like, no. And I looked a little bit into it and I took some time. And there's a reason why I encourage to vote no. Okay, that's a big N-O. And make sure, read it carefully, make sure they're not trying to trick you, but make sure you're voting no on this green deal, this green amendment. I'm going to get into why. First of all, it's going to change the state's constitution. Plain and simple. What specifically? Article 2, Section 2, which is the Bill of Rights and Popular Sovereignty. It currently reads, all political power is vested in and derived from the people. All government of right originates with the people. That statement is really important. It is founded upon their will and is instituted solely for their good. All government of right, not of the right, all government of right originates with the people. Our new amendment will change this. Oh, it will keep a lot of it as is, but it aims specifically to change our amendment. Now, this New Mexico Green Amendment basically adds an A and a B, and I'll get into why these are bad. Period. End of story. Part A. The people of the state shall be entitled to clean and healthy air, water, soil, and environment, a stable climate, and a self-sustaining ecosystem for the benefit of public health, safety, and general welfare. State, counties, and municipalities shall serve as trustees of the natural resources of New Mexico and shall conserve, protect, and maintain these resources for the benefit of all people, including present and future generations. Part B. The provision of this section are self-executing. Monetary damage shall not be awarded for a violation of this section. This section is enforceable against the state, counties, and municipalities. Here's just a small bit of the problems. I also want to cover New Mexico passes 100% clean energy bill back in 2019. If you didn't catch this, the new amendment to the bill is going to give the power for energy distribution entirely to public officials. As corrupt as they are, I've yet to see a just public official step forward in our state, county, or city yet. This bill, not only will it double renewable energy use in the state by 2025, It requires 50% renewable energy by 2030 and 100% carbon-free electricity generated by 2045. And we already have a problem with this, as we're not going to be building any new nuclear facilities. And I say that, again, let's go back to how they want to change the Constitution. Not only can a government not guarantee a stable climate, that's just stupid. A stable climate being what? No rain, no snow in the winter? What exactly is a stable climate? So it's a bunch of nonsense. In a self-sustaining ecosystem for the benefit of public health, safety, and general welfare. When COVID hit and I was told I was non-essential, that was in the name of public health, safety, and general welfare. What makes you think they're going to, do you honestly believe they're going to say that you, whoever you are more important than them when it comes to public safety, health, and general welfare? Let's not forget that Governor Lujan not only put those lockdowns in place, but for part of it, she took a vacation. Spent $6,000 of the public money for groceries for her family during the lockdown as well. And then defended it by saying we can all have a shot of alcohol when we come to the state capitol. I'm not an alcoholic and I really don't drink. The other line of the amendment of New Mexico, state, counties, and municipalities shall serve as trustees of the natural resources of New Mexico and shall conserve, protect, and maintain these resources for the benefit of all people, including present and future generations. It's that reason we don't touch the lithium that's sitting underneath Alaska, or all the oil that's underneath Alaska, or the gold or silver or any other rare minerals or rare earth minerals that are currently under Alaska, because Alaska as a state as a whole is pretty much considered a natural park or national park. So with it being a national park, that's preserving it for future generations to come. Don't give me that BS. Just means you don't want to use it. Oh, it gets better. This means New Mexico will quickly transition from dependency on fossil fuels for electricity to join other states to lead in clean energy economy. All right, we see how well that's doing in California. Cheap energy runs a good economy and a strong economy. Gee, look at China. Not only using our money to invest in their country, but they're selling us all of the rare earths and, all the stuff we gave up when we gave up Afghanistan because we don't want to touch Alaska. Now, to be fair, this is coming from a gentleman who's an expert blog by Noah Long, dated March 13th, 2019. I'm reading a little excerpts from his article. This bill also uses a financial tool, be careful of those words as an accountant, to save customers money in the move away from coal. Oh yeah, it's doing real good in California where you have blackouts and you're being told that you can't set your thermostat below 78 degrees in the summertime. Oh yeah, you can't charge your car or use large appliances after 9 o'clock at night because it's a strain apparently on the power, or until after. Oh my, there's so much going wrong with California's economy right now. And guess what? The $1.9 billion bailout during COVID, did you notice that one? Because California can't sustain itself? Anyway, back to the article. The bill would allow use of a tool called securitization, which is not currently available to the Public Regulation Commission, and there's a reason for that. Securitization would provide a low-cost financing method to pay off coal plant costs and close the facilities. Securitization is like refinancing a mortgage at a lower rate. No, it's not. The utility would give up all earnings on the remaining capital and instead utilize lower interest AAA-rated bonds to reduce the overall cost of closing the coal plant by as much as 40%. Customers will get even further savings because using new Renewable energy is now cheaper than running the average coal plant. That's another lie. Again, let's look at California. They're still having trouble. Their bills are soaring through the roof. Now, when they say securitization, let's take a moment to look at the definition according to Merriam-Webster on what that means. Securitize, to consolidate something such as mortgage loans, but not limited to, and sell to other investors for resale to the public in the form of securities. So they want to take these coal plants, they want to go ahead and take these, turning them into securities to resell now that they've shut down. Something sounds fishy. Further on the word of securities is A. Number 2 under Merriam-Webster's Dictionary of Securities is something given, deposited, or pledged to make certain the fulfillment of an obligation. So they're going to buy out these coal companies. They're going to keep the profits in the form of a securities and stock. Let's be honest, let's call it what it is, to pay out the profits to the state, the county, and the municipalities. Nowhere do I hear the people. The third definition of securities is an instrument of investment in the form of a document such as stocks, certificates, or bonds, AAA bonds they mentioned, providing evidence of its ownership. So if for some reason the switch to electric doesn't work, the state, municipalities, and counties get to keep the securities in the coal mine or in the coal burning plants and the profits that are made as they raise the prices on that. Does something sound fishy here? Like the elites, the politicians are going to be making all the money and we're going to get stuck with everything as we're told it's in our best interest and the interest of future generations? It does to me. Now, if we go over to the National Caucus of Environmental Legislators, and right there on that front page says, the state is the trustee. When they're explaining how this new Green Amendment should work, the state is the trustee. This means that they shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of all people. This language is important to, quote unquote, he highlighted in red and underlined, ensure environmental justice and generation protection. But you want abortion till birth? Something doesn't make right or sense there either. Now, let's go on just to read what this says. Green Amendment, which is what I was reading, is the change to the Constitution we have coming up, and environmental justice. Perhaps the most significant provision including in a Green Amendment is that which refers to the right of all people. It's italicized, which means, again, they're not implying all people. And you'll see why. This next sentence. Environmental harms such as poor air quality, water quality, and lack of access to healthy natural spaces fall disproportionately on, and I'm going to use this word with absolutely distrust, BIPOC communities. So the air that we breathe, white people breathe different air than black people. Or in the case of New Mexico, white people breathe different air than Hispanics, Latinos, and black people, and Chinese and Muslim. And anyways, so we all breathe different air even though we live in the same community. That's exactly what that says. Talk about racism, segregation. Because this also means, in fact, and I quote, access to clean resources has been historically blocked for these communities, which means my neighbor just up over here, upstairs and over, doesn't have the same access to the same water that I do. This is exactly what that means. Because he's black. Talk about stupidity at its finest. Says over half the people living within 2 miles of hazardous waste facilities are Black Americans and other POC. The Green Amendment is only one way of addressing environmental racism. So now the environment is racist. Are you fucking kidding me? Go on. Through the power of more equitable state constitution protections for environment and public health. The Green Amendment is as racist to state constitutions as pretty much Jim Crow laws. I mean, seriously. The only thing is here is they don't test your blood to see just how ethnic you really are. Because I know plenty of Hispanics who will call themselves white at the drop of a hat. I'm not going to name any names, but I can think of 5 right off the top of my head. And these are very important people in my life. So, now they're saying that the environment is racist. I've never heard a bigger crock of bull. But it also shows that the intent is to open up more segregation. Specifically with that paragraph, they're talking about segregating people because, oh, well, the environment is racist. Okay, now that we are talking about racism, when you go back and you look at the state, counties, and municipalities shall serve as trustee of the natural resources of the state of New Mexico and shall conserve, protect, and maintain these resources for the benefit of all people, which means the BIPOC people, including present and future generations. Again, well, if we've managed to kill 60 million Americans in the past 30 years, what makes you think there's going to be any future generations? Not to mention when they take these securities, they can also sell our public works to investors like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, China, Russia. We're selling farmland to China right now. Now, the interesting part again is the part of provision B that says monetary damages shall not be awarded for a violation of this section, which means if the government says your cattle ranch is producing too much methane, you need to kill all your cattle. No, we're not paying you for it, silly person. Oh, your farm is diverting too much water from our sacred waterways. Shut it down. Go find somewhere else to live. This is now government property. Do I need to pay you? The state constitution says I don't. Again, this will probably not pass the Supreme Court of the state, but at this point, who knows? But again, this is why I urge people, vote no on this constitutional amendments. Please. Now, some of these people who are pushing this idea as well, mind you, this is joint bipartisan. Why is it joint bipartisan? Because all the people in the House and the Senate of our state will be the ones who are able to get these security bonds. It's no different than the insider trading of Nancy Pelosi. They're all corrupt and need to be removed from office. Ooh, this is getting bad. This is from the webpage of Interfaith Power and Light, New Mexico and El Paso regions. These are the people who, again, contact you for the Senate Rules Committee. They're trying to push the Green Amendment. Here are some of the quotes of the Green Amendment. The right of New Mexicans are under constant assault by extractive industries. Okay, again, this will take the industries out, completely buying them out as public works companies to be owned by the state. Privately held electric companies. Oil, well, it'll be the oil and the coal industries. Communities of color in our state have been subject to environmental racism for decades. Again, the environment just loves white people and hates black people. Future generations are endangered by the emissions generated in the Permian Basin. That's that little part in New Mexico down there by Texas, where it should be this way. The state was like this. Down over here, because that's where, all the oil is being produced. We need a means by which to hold polluters accountable. We already do. It's called the EPA. And that's what the Green Amendment offers. It offers to hold polluters accountable, but it won't. There's a huge problem with this. Again, new energy economy expresses sincere gratitude to our true representative leaders like Senator Cedillo Lopez, Souls Pope, Senator Pro Team Minnie Servant or Stewart, and Representatives Ferre and Lujan and Romero. These are the people that need to get out the office. Who championed the Green Amendment, a self-executing provision in our New Mexico Constitution that will provide individuals and communities with the legal right to protect our water, land, and air from contamination. Not really. It didn't say any of that in the amendment or the bill that was passed in 2019. The Green Amendment, like other constitutional amendments, will grant us inalienable rights and require the preservation and protection of our beloved homes for future generations. Again, this is socialism. This is the government telling you what is happiness, what you will like, what is in your best interest. The same people that said I was a non-essential worker and didn't need to work. I didn't need to support myself. I didn't need to survive. I didn't need to support my family because, again, wasn't officially working a job. I'm self-employed. I'm not big enough to have employees, can't qualify for the PPP loan because I'm self-employed. Well, don't have enough money, wasn't making enough money to qualify for unemployment. These are the people who want me to die. Why? What did I ever do to them? Oh, I didn't vote for these people. That goes on in something interesting with Dark Brandon. The Green Amendment is a no-brainer. New Mexico Green Amendment clearly recognizes that all people of the state have an individual, inalienable, and indefeasible right to clean and healthy environments, including pure, sacred water, clean air, healthy ecosystems, a stable climate. How the hell is the government going to offer a stable climate? Sure, I have a right to it, but does it mean I'm going to have it? No. And the preservation of the natural, scenic, cultural, healthful, and magnificent qualities of our environment. They're wanting to take away personal property and not have to compensate you for it. That's what I keep seeing over and over. Oh, realizing that desecration and pollution of Mother Earth and our natural environment as the world realizes climate change. What climate change? I'm really getting tired of this socialist concept. Oh yeah, I'm not supposed to deny that it snows, it changes, there are seasons, there are differences. That New Mexico, last time we had record heat recorded was 1976 and September 19th when it was 100 degrees. Oh yeah, climate change. Welcome to New Mexico, people. We live in a desert. It's hot. The whole state's a damn desert. Anyways, so climate warming, the temperature's supposed to be raising. Why is it since for almost 50 years, we haven't had record-breaking temperatures in September like they keep telling us we're supposed to be having? Doesn't make any sense to me. So this is getting a little long. I'm going to read a couple more paragraphs and make a closing statement, but let me read some more, and I quote, "As the first environmental advocate at the state capitol, I led the effort to create a constitutional right." So we already have a constitutional right to this stuff. Now they want to amend it again. I become very weary. "To healthy environment through the passage of Act 20, Section 21. I was later horrified to learn that the bipartisan intentions of its Democratic and Republican sponsors, as well as every New Mexican senator and an overwhelming majority of the House, were corrupted by polluters who twisted the language to justify their desecrating actions," which means a case was brought, they lost, oh, now they're the bad guys. "Passage of this new Green Amendment will give New Mexicans a true constitutional right of enforceable environmental protections." Again, this is not New Mexico. This is the state, the body of the state, the government. And instead of it being already in the hands of the people with publicly traded utilities, they're going to go ahead and take that away and put it within the government's control. I'm going to read a part of this one. That one was by Sally Rogers. Now I'm going to make another quote by Maya van Rossum. Green amendments are also powerful for advancing environmental justice protections by ensuring government officials are protecting the environmental rights of all people and are constitutionally prohibited from creating, quote unquote, environmental sacrifice zones. These are not created. I looked into what environmental sacrifice zones are. They gave you a long explanation for something that's really short. When you build a power plant and people want to live near work and are willing to pay a lower price because the land is known to be nearer a possible pollutant, they want to take those houses away because that's considered a sacrifice of environmental sacrifice zone, because the EPA says that if there's enough particulates that only 1 in a million people will get cancer. These advocates are claiming that's not good enough because of all the other environmental hazards people encounter and get cancer. I don't know. I think 1 in a million is pretty good odds. Yeah, I'd like it to be all taken away, but it ain't gonna happen. We're all in this together. In 2015, entitlees sued New Mexico and Governor Susana Martinez regarding methane emissions, farting cows, into the atmosphere. The court appeal decided that under Article 20, Section 21 of the New Mexico Constitution, the legislature had complied with its public trust duty pertaining to natural resources and upheld the lower court's summary decision in favor of the state. Remember how it says that also the state will not be held be responsible for monetary damages? So I'm a little confused on this one. But he continues, or they continue. We still have the methane problems and time is running out. Laws we have now do not protect us. We need to pass legislation that can be used to help us keep our air and water clean. A New Mexico Green Amendment to our state's constitution. Mind you, we already have an amendment in the Constitution, but this particular one, a New Mexico Green Amendment to our state's constitution, is the tool to protect New Mexicans and not industry bad actors in the state that permits the bad actions. Wait a second. Here they're saying the state is permitting the bad actions, but it'll be the state that becomes sole proprietor, basically, of who gets power and how that power is maintained and created. But now they're complaining about, in this paragraph, how the state misuses that power. While big developments and extraction companies reap the profits, we lose. We lose our water, we lose our health, and we suffer economic losses. Every time Hobbs has a good well going, it's an economic boom for Hobbs. It's not an economic disparagement because of bad actors. They go on to say, we lose our New Mexico. The Green Amendment is an equalizer. That's another thing. Equalizers, again, is something when they want to equalize something, they want to take your rights and give it away. Like the quiet quitting right now. They claim it's because they're not paid enough for the work they do. But when they were hired, why didn't they negotiate better pay? So instead, they think that those who were at one time called slackers, now they're quiet quitters. That the slackers should continue to be paid more, if not at least equal to, those who are diligent and hard workers. There's something wrong with that. Anyways, I strongly believe that there is much that can be done by state government agents as trustees of the natural resources of New Mexico. But aren't they already supposed to be acting in good faith? And apparently they're not, because we need this amendment to the Constitution to give them more power. They go on, in areas that call out for support for clean air and water, such as the Carlsbad, Chaco area, and the South Valley of Albuquerque. Again, why aren't we investing them? Why isn't the state investing the money now? Why do they need to securitize the public works in order to do that? Oh, for profit. Personal gain, personal profit. All this is an amendment for those that are currently in government or who will be in government to make money right now, which in a way would be considered illegal, insider trading, that kind of thing. But to be able to, continue with it and keep doing it after this amendment is passed, giving them more power to do it? They go on, with the passage of the proposed Green Amendment, officials will be constitutionally obligated to adhere, protect, and maintain our natural resources. Again, they already are. This just gives the state more power to be able to sell profits and be able to monetize their gain, their position in government, and make money off of the people. While at the same time, such as in California, doing what? Telling people, oh, you have to turn off your power, deciding what communities get power and what communities not. Mind you, we're still on a 100-year-old power grid. Our gas lines ain't much better, nor is the water. And this is currently with the current amendments that we have in our Constitution, and the state does nothing. All this is doing is giving the state the power to kick people off of their land and say, we don't have to compensate you for it. Have a nice day. Or decide what lands you can and cannot live on, where power can and cannot be generated. Because again, our economy is based off of cheap energy. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to join me. I hope that there is something that is in here that is a benefit to you or to somebody that you know. Please vote no on the Green Amendment for the Constitution for New Mexico coming up here in November. And I'd like to say you can also see us on Getter, Gabs, Minds, Locals, Odyssey, Rumble, and YouTube. Thank you very much. United we stand, divided we fall. God bless you, and God bless America.